Welcome to the 18th lecture in this lecture series introducing the subject of international investment law. In the last few lectures, we have been discussing various aspects relating to the fair and equitable treatment standard. In this lecture, we will continue to do so, but with a slight twist. We will be looking at India's recent skirmishes with the FET standard in the White Industries Award and the Kane BIT Award. Note that the purpose of this lecture series is to introduce the subject to the readers and not to embark on a critical examination or exposition of the law on the subject. Therefore, we would examine these awards and provide descriptive comments and not a critical analysis. First, we will look at what happened in the White Industries case. In the White Industries case, White Industries, an Australian company, had entered into an agreement with Coal India, wherein White Industries was to build a coal processing plant. Disputes arose and Coal India Limited terminated the contract. Arbitral proceedings were commenced which went in favor of White Industries. The enforcement proceedings initiated by White Industries were pending for a long time, which led White Industries to invoke the India-Australia BIT. In the arbitral proceedings under the BIT, White Industries alleged breach by India of the FET standard or the minimum standard of treatment, including denial of justice. One of the main planks of the argument was that Indian courts were routinely considering setting aside applications even of foreign arbitral awards. In this case also, it was so done by the Supreme Court and the other courts in India. Consequently, White Industries alleged breach of the FET standard. According to it, India's actions had fallen short of TechMed Tribunal's dicta that under the FET standard, the host state should provide to international investment treatment that does not affect the basic expectations that were taken into account by the foreign investor to make the investment. We have dealt with TechMed Tribunal's dicta in the last video, whose link is provided in the description to this video. Those interested may have a look at it. Interestingly, the tribunal found in the White Industries case that the TechMed standard was very broad and that it had been criticized because the TechMed standard describes what is or could be a perfect regulation in the world which all countries could aspire for but very few could attain it. As regards legitimate expectations under the FET standard, the more appropriate standard according to the tribunal was this. Legitimate expectations about the treatment of investments will arise based on conditions offered by the host state at the time of the investment. Investment treaty jurisprudence highlights that to create legitimate expectations, state conduct needs to be specified and unambiguous. Encouraging remarks from government officials do not of themselves give rise to legitimate expectations. There must be an unambiguous affirmation or a definitive, unambiguous and repeated assurances. The conduct must be targeted at a specific person or identifiable group. This standard was made by Newcomb and Parnell in The Law and Practice of Investment Treaties Standards of Treatment, published in 2009. Now, the tribunal also held that even at the time when White Industries was making the investment, Indian courts routinely heard set-aside applications of foreign awards. Therefore, the tribunal found that there was no breach of legitimate expectations. As regards the argument of denial of justice, the tribunal stated that the standard was of a higher threshold and the tribunal recognized the extent position that international law did not have strict standards to assess whether court delays amounted to denial of justice. While delays in deciding the enforcement application in the matter was regrettable, the tribunal found that there was no suggestion of bad faith, nor did the delay amount to a particular serious shortcoming or egregious conduct that shocked or at least surprised a sense of judicial propriety. On these and a few other grounds, the allegations of FET violation was rejected although the tribunal held in favor of white industries on other issues. Note that in the last lecture we had discussed the near case. Near case was also relating to the judicial conduct as well as the conduct of the enforcement officials as regards prosecution of a murder. And the white industries case also related to judicial conduct. So therefore, in both cases, the tribunal held that there was no violation of the FET standard. Consequently, the FET standard as far as judicial proceedings and delays or failure to prosecute in the manner that the investor wanted might have a higher threshold. Now, coming to the Cain BIT award, the question in this matter was whether corporate restructuring and share sale amounted to sale of capital asset in India. Cain entered into certain transactions for share sale. Thereafter, the law was retrospectively amended in 2012 so as to clarify that such share sale amounted to sale of capital asset in India and was thus liable for income tax. Cain consequently invoked the India-UK BIT. The tribunal's findings relevant to the subject being discussed is now stated. The tribunal found as follows. The retrospective amendment was not clarificatory but altered the scope of the relevant provision of the Income Tax Act. The tribunal also found that prior to 2007, the Income Tax Department of India did not attempt to tax indirect transfers even though such transfers were occurring even from 1996. Irrespective of whether the 2012 amendment was unconstitutional under Indian law, whether India violated FET standards is to be determined pursuant to international law principles. The tribunal must examine the BIT's FET standard independently from the minimum standard of treatment under customary international law. This point we had discussed in the last lecture also. Article 3, Subarticle 2 of India-UK BIT is broadly worded and requires that investments of investors of each contracting party shall at all times be accorded fair and equitable treatment. In order to ascertain the content of the FET obligation in the BIT, the tribunal must interpret Article 3, Subarticle 2 containing the FET standard in accordance with the rules of treaty interpretation contained in the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties or VCLT. Pursuant to the general rule of interpretation in Article 31(1) of the VCLT, a treaty shall be interpreted in good faith in accordance with the ordinary meaning to be given to the terms of the treaty in their context and in the light of its object and purpose. Thus, three elements are there. First, ordinary meaning, second, context, and third, object and purpose. While the object and purpose of the BIT is undoubtedly the promotion and protection of investments, the BIT's ultimate aim is to encourage foreign investment, stimulate business, and increase prosperity in both states. The protection granted to foreign investments, according to the tribunal, must thus be coherent with the state's policy objectives for economic growth. In the case of the FET standard and of investment protection standards in general, the most useful guidance can be found in general principles of law. This includes core principles such as rule of law, legal certainty, transparency and predictability, non-arbitrariness and non-discrimination. The tribunal held that resorting to general principles of law to establish the content of the FET standard is an appropriate methodology to establish its normative content. The tribunal found on facts that the effect of 2012 amendment was to render taxable transactions that were previously non-taxable. The tribunal found that the manifestation of the foundational concepts of rule of law such as principle of legal certainty qualified as general principles of international law as recognized by Article 38(1)(c) of the ICJ statute and thus may guide the tribunal in determining the content of the FET standard. The respondent, that is Government of India, according to the tribunal, did not have a specific public purpose to justify applying the 2012 amendments to past transactions. Therefore, the tribunal held that the 2012 amendments application to the Kane acquisition failed to balance the claimant's protected interest of legal certainty and stability or predictability on the one hand, and the respondent's power to regulate in the public interest in other. By retrospectively applying, without a specific justification, a new tax burden, the claimants were denied their ability to plan their investments in consideration of the legal consequences of their conduct. This, according to the tribunal, violated the principle of legal certainty, which is a core element of the FET standard. The tribunal considered the full factual record and found that the retroactive taxation was grossly unfair, and therefore, on these grounds, the tribunal concluded that Government of India was in breach of the FET standard as contained in the BIT under Article 3 Subarticle 2. Now, another aspect to be noted is para 1705 to 1701 to 1705 of the award discusses whether the FET standard was equivalent to the minimum standard of treatment in customary international law. We had dealt with this question in greater detail in the last video, and the link to the last video is also provided in the description of this video. Bye bye, stay safe and happy learning.